have vehicle fires. So fire, to keep in mind, you have a four-sided geometric way of representing four major factors that's necessary for fire. For fire to exist and to happen, it needs to have oxygen, heat fall, and the chemical chain reaction. So tetrahedron, that's the definition of fire tetrahedron. Then when it comes to fire prevention, a vehicle fire is made extremely, and it can be extremely dangerous and can be a frightening experience. Now, although common sense, good driving habit, and good housekeeping can prevent many vehicle fires from happening, unfortunately, not all fires can be prevented. And that's why it's important for you to be prepared to face a potentially dangerous situation. So most vehicle fires occur or happen in one of these three areas. It happens to either the engine, the tires and brakes, and the cargo. So I'm gonna break down each individual things that occurs when fires happen. So the engine, tires and brakes, and then cargo. With the engine, you want to follow the best practices because good housekeeping is one of the main keys for preventing fires. So you want to check the engine compartment regularly and keep it clean. The vehicle should be clean and free from debris at all times. Then wipe up spills. If there's oil or fluids that are spilled on the engine, you want to make sure you wipe up those spills. And then clean up after any service work. Then turn off the engine when refueling and do not smoke when fueling. Then check the fuel tank or any signs of leakage. And then make sure you have metal to metal contact while fueling. To follow the best practices because good housekeeping is one of the main keys for preventing fires. So the regular checks you should have and make will be wiring and electrical system, the battery, the fuses, and the exhaust system. The fuses is a wire or strip of metal, melted metal, that is placed within a circuit as a safeguard. Now, if the current becomes too strong, then the metal actually melts. Therefore, that causes breaking the circuit. So that's what fuse is. And then you have batteries. Battery is the electrochemical device for storing and supplying electric energy. Then you have tires and brakes. So overheated tires can actually ignite a vehicle fire, and underflate tire can actually increase the risk of a tire fire. So that will create that by overheating. An underflated tire can increase the risk of a tire fire by that tire overheating. If a hot tire is changed, do not place it in spare of a tire rack until it has cooled down. Then change any soft or flat tires as soon as possible. Then you want to check the brakes regularly since the warm brakes can overheat, causing a fire. And then release all the brakes before moving the vehicle. That's including the parking brakes. And then never ride the brakes. Riding the brakes can cause a tire in the brake lines that could spread to other tires. So riding the brakes means failing to take your foot completely off the brake while the vehicle is moving, while that vehicle is in motion. And brake lining is a material designs that actually create friction when it's pressed against that brake drum. It's fastened to the brake shoe and it contacts the drum when braking as well. So that's brake line. You never want to ride the brakes because riding that brake can actually cause a fire in the brake lines, and that could actually spread to the tires as well. And then of course you have cargo. Cargo, you want to periodically check your mirrors and looking for smoke. Never smoke around hazardous materials or in the cargo area as freight is being loaded or unloaded. And then know what you're hauling. So that way an emergency crew can respond properly and appropriately. And know what commodities you're hauling because this information can vitally help you and emergency crews respond appropriately and properly. And it can save your life and other people's lives around you. Then you have the general classes of fires. There are 4 fire classifications that's based on the materials that is involved in the kind of extinguisher needed to put them out. So to be mindful is you have the National Fire Protection Association. That's NFP. That's a nonprofit organization that is devoted to eliminating death, injury, and property and economic loss that leads or is due to fire, electrical, or any other related hazards. Keep in mind, this nonprofit organization, the National Fire Protection Association, they help prevent or eliminate these as much as possible. So the 4 types of fire classifications based on materials that's involved and the kind of extinguisher that is needed to put them out. You have Class A, Class B, Class C, and Class D. And these are the classes of types of fire classifications of materials. So you have Class A, which is combustible materials, such as wood, cloth, paper, rubber, and plastics. And uncommon or common extinguishing agent is water, but dry chemicals is also effective. So you want to use common extinguishing agent for Class A combustible materials. You have water, but dry chemicals are also effective. For Class B fires, you have flammable liquids, gases, and greases. So the extinguishing agents for this type of fire are foam, carbon dioxide, and dry chemical. Whereas Class C fires, you have electrical fires and non-counting agent. Now that must be used as well as carbon dioxide and dry chemical extinguishers. Now, never use foam or water for Class C fires because you could be electrocuted. And then you have Class D fires, which is combustible metals, which contains of magnesium, titanium, zirconium, and sodium fires. Now, they require specialized techniques and exhausting agents. So none of the common extinguishing agents should be used for Class C fires because they can increase the intensity of that fire by adding a chemical reaction to it. Those are the 4 main classifications based on the materials of the class of fires. Then when it comes to fire extinguishers, the federal rules require 1 or 2, depending on the rating, and it needs to be properly filled and readily accessible. So you need to have accessible and ready fire extinguishers on all commercial motor vehicles. And that's according to section 393.95 of the FMCSRs. Now, each extinguisher must be securely mounted to the vehicle and designed and maintained to visually show wherever a fire extinguisher is fully charged. If the vehicle is not hauling hazardous materials, it must be equipped with either 1 fire extinguisher with a UL rating of 5 BC or more, or 2 fire extinguishers with a UL rating of 4 BC or more. So UL stands for Underwriters Laboratory Rating. Underwriters Laboratory Rating is a product that is nationally recognized and listed to safely and really sustainability standards. So it helps sustain those standards by having a Underwriters Laboratory Rating. Now, when you're using or hauling hazardous materials, it must be equipped with 1 fire extinguisher with a UL rating of 10 BC or more. And this when it comes to using the fire extinguisher when you're hauling hazardous materials. And of course, you can check specifically in section 393.95 of the FMCSRs as it relates to what you need to have when it comes to having a fire extinguisher as well. Then when it comes to using a fire extinguisher, this is important. When using a fire extinguisher, it's important to make sure that the wind is at your back and you do not use contents from the fire extinguisher to blow back at you while you're using it during discharge. And also using a fire extinguisher actually helps you avoid the dangerous smoke and toxic fumes. So it's important. The best and correct way to use a fire extinguisher, it's important to know the best way to use it. First, you want to actually position yourself about 8 to 10 feet from the fire and use the PASS strategy method. PASS stands for pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. You want to pull, which is pull the pin and stand back 8 to 10 feet from the line. Now, quickly, pin is a locking pin or safety feature that actually prevents a fire extinguisher from being discharged unintentionally. That pin is like a safety feature or mechanism that helps you avoid activating that fire extinguisher if you're not intending to activate it. So you want to pull the pin, stand back 8 to 10 feet from the line. You want to A, aim at the base of the fire, S, squeeze the handle to release the extinguishing agent, and S, sweep at the base of the fire with the extinguishing agent. So step 1, pull the pin. Step 2, aim the nozzle. Step 3, squeeze the lever. And step 4, sweep side to side. And note, never aim high at the flames because it will not put out the fire, and then you'll waste viable extinguishing agent. Then when you're putting out fires, specifically the cab and engine fires, there are also some basic but most valuable steps to easily follow when you're dealing with an engine fire. So with the engine, if it's an engine fire, turn off the vehicle's engine. You can do it safely and also look for any fuel leaks. If it's a battery fire, if the fire is electrical, that means you want to disconnect the battery cables from the terminals if you can do it safely. If there is a hood fire, when fighting an engine fire, do not open the hood more than necessary because air is a crucial ingredient to fuel a fire. It's like feeding. Air is just an ingredient that fuels and increases that fire. So you want to close the hood and do not open the hood more than necessary if it's a hood fire. If it's water, you want to never use water on a petroleum-based fire. So the use of water will cause a petroleum-based fire to spread. And then, of course, directions. Follow the directions on the fire extinguisher and never assume a tire is completely out. Now, fires often smolder or spark, and it can actually reignite as well, or it can spark or reignite. That's why you never want to assume that a fire is completely out. Then tire fires. Tire fires are actually hard to extinguish, and it can be extremely dangerous because tires are made of highly flammable material. A tire fire can actually generate an intense amount of heat at a rapid pace. Therefore, some things you must keep in mind when you are fighting a tire fire. You want to remove the hot tire from the vehicle if you can do it safely, and then use water to fight the tire fire because water helps cool a tire in addition to extinguishing the flames. And although fire extinguishers are good at suppressing flames, they will not be able to put out a tire fire. That's why you want to use water to put out a tire fire. And then, of course, cargo fires. In many cases, cargo fires are easily discovered by the sight or smell of smoke around the cargo door. So it's much easier to spot a cargo fire. Now, when fighting a cargo fire, do not open the doors until the vehicle is in a safe place and help has arrived. Then you want to disconnect the tractor from the trailer if you have a trailer and if it's safe to do so. Then you want to move the tractor to a safe place away from the fire. And then always know what type of cargo is in the vehicle because this actually helps firefighters determine the best and safest way to extinguish those flames. Hey, BET Trainer here. Listen, if you really had true value out of this video, go ahead and click that like button and share some honest comments about this video because this is going to help other people as well see the video and get the value information so that way they can be inspired by what you're doing right now as well. So also, if you want to get the latest updates, go ahead and click the subscribe button so then you can be able to always be updated on the next instant video that will be put out. So again, go ahead and do that. And this video was sponsored by BET Life Services and CDL for Life.